I get to tell the first story tonight, and you don't get to judge me. So when I was thinking about tonight's theme, which I'm super excited about, I was thinking there's sort of two WTF stories. There are those stories in which something crazy is happening and the person sort of throws caution to the wind, says, "What the fuck?" and does something. It's usually decisive and outlandish and possibly ill-advised. And then there are the WTF stories where lots of crazy things are happening and there's literally nothing to do but say, "What the fuck?" So I am not a throw caution to the wind kind of girl. I am a rule follower, so this is not going to be a throw caution to the wind kind of story. I got the phone call on the second Thursday in December of 2005. I was living and working in New York City, and my father was in a coma in an ICU bed in Pittsburgh. And it was time to turn off the machines. I knew this call was coming. I was my father's healthcare proxy and power of attorney, and I had been telling the doctors for weeks that he did not believe in life support. And they had been telling me for weeks that this was not an end-of-life issue, but they also didn't know what was wrong. So that was super reassuring. The fuck? And so I was expecting this call, and when it came, I was sort of blasé about it. I mean, I had sat with my grandmother after we turned off her life support, and it actually took her days to die. So well, the doctors had been wrong all along, so it might have been that, or it might have been that I'm an asshole sometimes. I said to the doctor who called me, "Oh, go ahead and turn off the machines. I'll just fly in tomorrow. It'll be fine." What the fuck, Jamie? Like, that was an asshole move. And he was like, no, we're gonna wait for you to come. Your father's gonna go quickly. And I was like, yeah, whatever, that's fine. Do whatever you need to do. So that night, a friend came over and got dinner for me and packed my bag, because how does one pack for their father's funeral when their father is still technically alive? And another friend came at 4 o'clock in the morning to drive me to LaGuardia Airport. So she picked me up on in Upper Manhattan, and in the snow, we drove to LaGuardia. I was flying standby on the first flight out. I walked right into the airport, I boarded the plane, no problem, and that's when things started to get iffy, because we pulled back from the gate, we were de-iced, and then we couldn't take off before we refroze. And this happened about 3 more times. They would de-ice us, we wouldn't be able to take off, and then we'd refreeze. And so like I mentioned, I'm a rule follower. I had turned off my cell phone when we pushed back from the gate. As far as I was concerned, I was on the plane, I was getting to Pittsburgh, we were doing what we needed to do. But there were a lot of other people on the plane that were not so zen about the situation, and they were like on their phones, and I'm thinking, oh God, the plane's gonna explode, you're not supposed to have your phone on, like what's going on? And they were talking to people, I don't know, they were like calling US Air headquarters and like, I'm gonna miss my flight to Vail, and I'm gonna miss my connection to Aspen. And I was like, I don't want to know what's going on out there. My father's decline had been pretty steep and pretty steady, and I was actually petrified that while I was stuck on the tarmac in LaGuardia, he was going to make some miraculous but very short-lived recovery, which would then continue us on the path that we had been on, which was the doctors don't know what's going on, his brain function is continuing to go down, and they just sort of say, it's okay, it's not end of life. And so I'm sitting there going, I don't really want to call Pittsburgh. I don't want to know what's going on. I just want to lie in these 3 seats and pretend like everything's okay. But then someone said the word deplane. And I was like, what the fuck? We can't get off this plane. I was flying standby, and if we had to get on the next plane with all the people that were on this plane and all the people that were already on the next plane, I was not getting out of LaGuardia that day. And so I sat up, and at this point, I am sort of halfway between the first seat and the second seat, because I have the whole row to myself, and I flag a flight attendant, and I say, what's the likelihood we're gonna get, out of here this morning? And she said, oh, you're gonna miss a connection. I said, no, the doctors are waiting for me to come home to turn off my father's life support. And here's the thing, I can't even explain to you how quickly the next couple things happened. I wish I could, but it was a blur. The first thing that happens is she sits on my lap. And then she takes my hands in prayer position in hers. Fuck. And then she prays to our Lord Jesus Christ. Okay, I need to pause here. I am Jewish. This was very startling to me. And I am petrified that she's gonna pray for his recovery, which I totally get. Like, I get that, but I wasn't there. Like, I had made peace with it. I was already there. And so I'm sitting here with the stewardess on my lap, my hands in prayer position in hers, and she prays to our Lord Jesus Christ to keep my father safe until we can get me by his side. The fuck? Okay, like, I'll take that. And then, just as quickly as she sat down, she gets up and she makes a beeline for the front of the plane, and all of these other passengers are trying to flag her down, and she's like swatting them like they're gnats. She's just like going. And then I see her go into the cockpit, which post-September 11th I didn't think was possible. And then moments later, we're cleared for takeoff. And I'm not lying to you when I tell you that I never saw her again. I didn't see her come out of the cockpit. I didn't see her when we landed in Pittsburgh. I wanted to say thank you. I did have other matters to attend to, so it was sort of a quick search. I never saw her again. And, you know, I can't be sure that she existed, although I do think as a Jew, if a figment of my imagination was praying to our Lord Jesus Christ, something weird was going on. But what the fuck, it happened. She got me there, I got to the hospital, and that was the one day the doctors were right. 7 minutes after we turned off my father's machine, he died. But I spent those 7 minutes reading him his favorite poems, and that part of the day was pretty cool. Thank you.